Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite new podcast entitled We Hate You, Internet! All right, here we go. Gathering around once again, live at Panorama Brand Studios here in Houston, Texas. Houston's premier podcast studio. This is We Hate You, Internet. It's a fun yet informative podcast designed to highlight some of the negative aspects or effects of the internet on our lives, as well as celebrate the beautiful simplicity of our humanity. I'm here. It's me. I'm Wilbert Hamilton, your host. Alongside me is the elegant and eloquent
Clara Aguirre. Hi, everyone.
That's right. It's Clara Aguirre.
Yeah.
We got to start the episode being a little silly. That's how we get the jitters out. You know what I'm saying? We laugh and giggle a little bit. Lady, what's going on in your life? Talk to me.
Not much. Just I was glued to the screen when I seen the Titanic submarine and all that stuff. It's just that thing kind of threw me for a loop.
Craziness, man.
Very interesting though how people responded to it. But other than that,
Craziness.
yeah, it is absolutely insane.
What a world.
Right.
Right. What a world. Okay. Well, we got a lot to cover and not a lot of time to cover it. So let's jump right into this thing. For today's episode, we're going to be discussing failure. I guess in light of some recent situation, really shouldn't laugh at people's misfortune, but it's kind of crazy. It's a crazy situation.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it is.
We just want to talk about failure. It's one of those things that are inevitable in life, but it's really easy to misunderstand, and it's an aspect of life that if it's not received properly, can really hinder and handicap an individual.
And engulf you, like just consume you.
Yes, indeed. And so, we like I said, we always try to start macro, work our way down into the nitty gritties of the topic. So first thing we want to talk about, right, is that failure is supposed to hurt. Just a little bit, you know what I mean? Because oftentimes we look at failure as this. People want to avoid failure, but like I said, different aspects of failure. But failure is designed to hurt a little bit. When you think back to early development of human beings, right? The little baby trying to learn how to walk. You get up, they find their balance after scooting around for so many months. And then, they try to take a step. And what happens? They fall. You know what I'm saying? Hit their butt on the ground, boom, might cry a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But that little bit, that bump and that little bit of scare and that little bit of pain motivates them to try again and try to get it right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And eventually, that one step turns to 3, that 3 turns to 7, that 7 turns to 10, and then all of a sudden you're walking a little bit faster, and now you're running, and you don't look back from now. You know what I mean? And it's that same process is repeated in various aspects of our lives. You know what I mean? Failure is a teacher, and it has a hard but very important lesson that it's trying to teach you. And I think that the most important thing that every individual can do is to allow themselves to be taught. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look, I on various episodes of the past, I ran my mouth for like 20 minutes and going hard. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna just kind of lay it out, and then I'm gonna pass it to Clara Aguirre. Go ahead, Mo. What you got?
I think failure. You're right. I think failure it's a good lesson, and it's something that we all experience. And at the end of the day, it's going to make you better. And I can see how, here we talk about the effects of the internet and the topic. I feel like the internet has, in my experience, in my personal experience, has kind of helped me with failure in the past. In the story I always reference is like when I first
you said it helped you.
Yeah, it's helped me. I know.
So then maybe
it's helped me process it.
Wait a minute. So then maybe this is we love you. Is that what we're doing now?
Are we rebranding right now? No, I'm kidding. It's actually helped me. It's actually helped me.
Indeed.
And like, so when I first started school, I was initially going into school for nursing, and it was really tough. And I realized I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to be a nurse anymore. And there were some classes I was taking that helped me realize that this is just not the path I want to do. And going through that process alone, it made me feel like a complete failure. It was very difficult for me. I had a really hard time taking it in and I guess just accepting it, because I so desperately wanted to be successful in that field, in those classes and whatnot. And I didn't know what to do or who to talk to about it. I kind of felt embarrassed, like, to go to my family about it, because I knew that they had expectations of me. And so one day when I was like moping around and feeling bad about it, I actually typed it in the search bar, like, I feel like a failure in school. Like, I want to drop these classes, and what do I do? And I remember I clicked on a video, and it was this guy that was a Harvard student, and he talked about how he failed a class, like got an F in a class at Harvard. And
Tough.
Yeah, it is tough. But listening to him talk about it, he talked about his personal experience, and he was like, you just have to accept it. You have to accept it, and you have to keep going. You can't go back and change it, and that's okay. Like, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a complete failure in school. You're not going to have a good career. You're going to be a dropout. It doesn't mean that the world is ending. It really doesn't. It just means you have to accept this and move forward. You have to keep going. Listening to him talk about it, in that moment, I felt myself kind of like the weight coming off a little bit. I started thinking to myself, like, am I just catastrophizing this? Am I making this a catastrophe? Am I overthinking this? And as he continued going on with his story, and I look on the side when they suggest the videos, I see how many other people also went through what I was going through, and in different ways as well. Like, and it made me kind of feel less alone. It made me feel less alone, and it made me feel like, you know what? Yeah, I just have to pick myself up and keep going. And now I'm moving forward, but with experience and with knowledge of this failure, and that it's okay, and that my failures and my mistakes don't define me. They're just something that I went through, but they don't define me, and they don't make me who I am. So I have to continue and I have to keep going. So I would say that my experience on the internet with failure was pretty positive in that moment. And I think that it helped me. Had I not, searched that in that moment, or thought about searching it, I feel like I probably would have really let that affect me a lot more than it needed to. So I think that people can grasp some good things from that. They can take away some positivity from that experience. And although, like, that's kind of the point we're making, is that you shouldn't hold on to failure. Like, that's something that is normal in life. It's something that it's a part of the process. Even the pain from it, even the hurt from it, that's okay. And you're going to survive. You're going to be all right. And, one of the points that I feel is important to make as well, how we always talk about it, like, it can be difficult in a filtered world. And I'll let you take over that, because I think that's a really solid point that you make with, how people can feel like a failure, even just looking at the internet or looking at other people's accomplishments and so on and so forth. But
yeah, we always talk about how the internet isn't all bad. We don't want people to misunderstand, the title of our show, with the idea that we are just against all things technological and all things internet. That's not the case. It's always just about being aware, so that you can minimize the negative effects, right? So we're talking about failure. Failure, when misunderstood or or your perception of failure is wrong, like I said, it can be damaging. We talked about that in the beginning of the show, and I see it in two ways that people misunderstand failure to their ruin. One is that they live their lives in filtered words, like you mentioned, and the process, in that process, there is no room for failure. You know what I mean? And so they try their best to hide from failure, and then the pain of failure, like I said, it's supposed to hurt a little bit, but the pain of failure in a filtered world is amplified. You know what I mean? Because you are always comparing yourself to other people's filtered worlds.
Yeah, to what seems to be perfect and
Exactly. And it's something I read an article maybe a couple of weeks ago about that very same that exact point. You know what I mean? They were discussing how mental health and anxiety were on the rise due to people viewing other people's lives.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
and it's one of those things that I think people are pretty aware of that. They just don't pay attention to it. Because we use social media the way that we do, we consume it the way that we do. We don't really think about the negative stuff. It's almost like, and it's a tough analogy, but it's almost like a family that has a child predator in it. You know what I mean? People are aware that this person has this issue, but they just, because that's uncle so-and-so or cousin so-and-so, people just don't say anything, and they let the abuse happen because they don't want to deal with the reality of it. And that's kind of an extreme example, but that's how it is sometimes with our consumption of some of these with some of these things and the damage that it brings to people's lives. Because of how convenient it is and because of how nice and pretty the picture and the packaging is, people don't want to acknowledge the negative stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, when it comes to failure, like I said, it puts you in this place where it amplifies the pain.
Yeah.
And it causes, and if you ain't careful, it can cause like legitimate mental anguish. You know what I mean? I remember I was going through something with my kids. They weren't really functioning in the way that I had desired for them to. You know what I'm saying? They weren't accomplishing some of the things that I really worked hard to try to help them to accomplish. You know what I mean? And I look at pictures of other people's children, succeeding or excelling, and then I look at some of the, and at that moment, it really just made me. I was already feeling some type of way about it, and in that moment, it just made me feel like so much worse. And I had to really like take a step back. I had to breathe. Breathing is important. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To kind of get this perspective, kind of find out where you're at. You know what I mean? I had to really just understand, like, what you're seeing on the screen is not the whole story. You know what I mean? A picture from a graduation, that's just a picture. It's just a glimpse in
it's
time.
Just a moment. Uh-huh.
It doesn't show all the work that came before that or the struggles that come before that, nor does it capture the struggles that come afterwards. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to hate on nobody's kids like that, but it's just you have to maintain a healthy perspective of what real life is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can get caught up in the illusion, and it can take you to some really ugly places. You know what I mean? And so, and these things weren't necessarily a failure on my part per se, that I did something wrong, but it was just that things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I failed in this particular aspect or particular instance. You know what I'm saying? And so, but that's the issue. That's one of the issues that you have to really be careful of in this day and age, is the fear of failure in a filtered world. You know what I'm saying? The other way that things can be misunderstood is goodness, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Well, just to kind of take it for a second, and then whenever you remember, we can touch back on it.
Goodness.
But, that's so true with what you mentioned about the mental health and all that, and how you even compared it to like a family with a child predator, and that's something that people are aware of, but they disregard. Like, no, but people know this. People know this because, and companies know this because they know it's profitable too. Facebook, I want to say it was a few years ago, but there's another article as well where they talk about how like they're aware of that a negative algorithm keeps users on the internet longer. And when they post, and not that this is necessarily a negative algorithm but when they post, like when you see the number of likes a photo has, that draws users more than someone who only has like 10 likes or 30 views or whatever. A picture or a video with thousands, it attracts them more. And maybe it's the comparison mindset, who knows? But I think that it's true. Like companies know this and they know they make money off of it. And now it's up to the user, like that awareness, bring awareness to the situation so that you're not lost in it. Because it's true, like just because someone else is where you wanted to be, it doesn't make you a failure. You guys have completely different experiences going on in your life, different destinations. You're coming from completely different places. It doesn't mean that they are better or you are better or that they're worse or you're worse. That has nothing to do with your experience, just like it has nothing to do with their experience. And I think that that's something that can get lost when we make failure seem like such a catastrophe. It's a mistake that you can learn from. It's a mistake that you can grow from. It's something that can actually even make you better.
Wait a minute. Okay, listen. Now this is an unfiltered and candid moment. See, this is why it's important to have a co-host. I'm gonna look at the camera. This is why it's important to have a co-host, right? Because we have a little pre-game prep. You know what I'm saying? Kind of going over stuff, making sure everything is right. Got our points that we want to make and everything. And then, you know what I'm saying? I come out here and come in the bright lights, under the bright lights, and
like
come like deer in the head, like struggling. That's when the girl picked up the ball, hit her head back. Good job, lady.
Well, because, and that's just because it's genuine. Like, when we talk here and we have these conversations, it's genuine. Like, even if some people may think it's obvious, of course it is. These are things that we talk about. These are things that we want people to connect with. And something that, you've always told me this, and I appreciate you for it. Like, what is in your head, someone else might be thinking. But and when you say it, they connect, or they might feel like, yeah, you know what? I had that in my mind too. And that's the beautiful thing about human connection. Like, we're here because, for one, we want to talk about these things, but we also appreciate like what other people have to say. Like, we want to hear about it. Conversations are not only fun, but important. So yeah, no, I think that when it comes to like these kinds of conversations, it's because it's genuine. It's real. Like,
it's real.
We're just talking. We out here in these virtual streets.
We out here.
In these virtual streets.
Out here. Second point. Here through your lifeline, I caught it. You know what I'm saying? Second point. Failure can be profitable.
Yeah.
You mentioned it. And I want to kind of take it a step further and just talk about like, we live in a world where victimhood is celebrated. And like, I want to make sure that I'm clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people being victimized is not a good thing, and for people to know that they're not alone in the experiences that they've experienced is a great thing. You know what I'm saying? So that you don't feel so isolated, because that's one of the problems with being a victim, is that you feel isolated. You feel like nobody else is going through this. Nobody else knows what I'm going through. Yeah. And it devastates you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. and it can destroy you from the inside. And so So being sympathetic to someone who has gone through some type of trauma or some type of challenge is a very positive thing. But it is not good when a society like celebrates victimhood. Yeah. Because victimhood is not good. It's not a good thing. You know what I mean? Being weak is not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, your society suffers when everybody is seeking to be the victim. Because then who's going to be the hero? Who's going to step up? Who's going to be the champion? Who's going to be strong? Because your society has to have strong-minded, able-bodied, like productive people in order for your society to
thrive.
To thrive. Exactly. And so I'm not saying that victims victims exist and tragedies occur.
And it's unfortunate.
Indeed, and it's unfortunate, and people should reach out, people should lift up, people should support and sympathize and all those things, because that's another part of the society, is that those who are in the position to help should.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But we should not function in a world where the mindset is that everybody wants to be a victim because of the attention that it garners, you know what I'm saying? And because of the profit that you can make.
Yeah, that's true.
We were talking off camera, and we were just chit-chatting about how many life coaches there are now. But I'm not against life coaches, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that people in various points of their life need counsel. They need some guidance. They need some insight on some things. They're struggling with some stuff. They may not have people in their immediate circle to talk to, right? And so having somebody to help you along your way is a great thing. I'm not knocking that. But when an industry is built on the weakness of others, that can be a problem. It's no different than the pharmaceutical industry, you know what I mean? Or the medical industry, for that matter. It's a great thing to have somebody that can help you when you're sick. But if nobody's sick, they ain't making money, that can become problematic. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even finna get into all of that. not today on that. But, this is the issue. I'm gonna come back to. I went off the dirt road this time. We always find ourselves kicking up dust over there on the dirt road sometimes. But with there is a profit that can be made from failure. You know what I'm saying? When people feel like a failure, they're in a weakened mindset. And people with a weak mindset are easy to manipulate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so sometimes, like I said, we started at the top of the program, failure is a teacher. And the lesson that it has to teach you is important. And you have to be able to receive that message or receive that lesson properly. It's a bad thing when you take failure and try to get attention off of it. You may have a situation in your life that you go through and you post it on Instagram or post it on social media because you want likes. Like you said, the algorithm awards such things. You get on there and cry and spit on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like the algorithm sees that and it's like, oh, and like you get all these likes, all these support, and all these comments. And like just like children sometimes will fake cry, pout, throw a fit because they want attention. Like sometimes children don't grow out of that stuff. It just manifests itself in different ways. You see what I'm saying? But that's not good, because you need to progress in life. You need to become stronger in life. Like throughout your process, until you're old and gray, if God let you live that long, you should be improving. You should be getting better. You should be shedding weaknesses. You should be like, your perspective should become more complete.
Yeah.
As you move forward in life through your various experiences and things you're exposed to. I always talk about this with my family, and even I remind myself about the importance of an individual's scope, right? Like, when your sight is narrow, like it's hard for you to be able to make sound decisions and really get a really good grasp of what your life should and can be if your scope is so small. It's like a person that grew up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Like if all you've ever seen and all you know is athletes, you got to be an athlete, sell drugs, or like be a policeman or go to the military. Like that's it. That's all you know. That's the only options that you have in your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there are tons of employment opportunities or entrepreneur opportunities that are available in the world. You know what I'm saying? We live in a global world thanks to the internet. You can make money in all kinds of ways and be very, very profitable.
And it's
you know what
lucrative,
I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there are a number of ways that you can use your innate ability to like provide for yourself and for your family. But if you're not exposed to any of those things, your scope is so small, right? like you don't know that those opportunities exist, so you don't pursue those things. You know what I mean? And it's a sad thing. So broadening a person's scope is like, man, it is paramount to their ability to reach their full potential. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but if you don't process failure the right way, and you use it as a tool to just get attention, you know what I'm saying? Like, or the other thing, you're afraid to fail.
And you don't do anything because you don't want to fail.
Exactly, and you can't receive it in the way that it's supposed to be received, right? It handicaps you.
Yeah, it paralyzes you in fear. You can't be afraid to fail.
And that ain't good. You see what I'm saying? And so, look at the time. We're gonna start trying to wrap this thing up. We talk about, and we've talked about what in various points that have already been made. You're the all-star of this episode, by the way. I stumbled and bumbled all over the place. But we're gonna try to recover, you know what I'm saying, and land smooth. You know what I'm saying? We talk about what can we do? We always want to end with that concept, like thought process. Okay, so then what is the right way? What can we do to improve in this area, right? And as we've said throughout the episode, time and time again, you have to let the teacher teach. You know what I'm saying? Like, every life that's lived will have failure in it. That's a part of the process. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that you know that's successful has failed multiple times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In this endeavor that I'm doing with this podcast, I think all these lights and these pretty cameras and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my first attempt at trying with entrepreneurship. You see what I'm saying? Like, I done wasted thousands of dollars trying to do things, but I don't look at it as a waste. When I first started, I was, like we talked about, I sing, or I can sing. You know what I'm saying? I do a little something, harmonizing, whatever. But and I sing because I just love it. It makes me happy, But then somebody approached me and they're like, "Man, you really got some talent. You should try to do something with me. You write." And I happened to write some songs, and I was producing some music. And I was like, "Let me try and see what I come up with." And I put a band together, and like it was a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a little thing. It didn't go all the way, but I really wasn't interested in trying to go to Hollywood and travel all over the world. Like, that's not what I was really pursuing. It was more or less just the experience. You know what I'm saying? But I tried that, and in that process, I learned about, like, okay, this is what it's like to try to kind of like put things together. I learned how to put things together. I had another pursuit. I was trying to do some stuff with like some branding and different little things like that. And then I learned a couple of things in that process. You know what I'm saying? I had some other things that I tried. And I spent money because, hey, man, that's business. And you can't be afraid to spend. You can't be afraid to invest in your talent. You can't be afraid to try. And you're not going to always succeed, but with each failure, you take something with you. And you're adding to your bag, and you're adding to your experience, and you're adding to your understanding, your knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You're making better decisions as you move forward. But if you succeed out the gate, it's a lot of things that you will not learn. Right? I've heard that quote. I've heard that a person mention that. One of the worst things that can happen to an entrepreneur is that they succeed the first time. Because then they think, oh, well, then it's easy. This is it. So as soon as they hit into turbulence, which they will, they fall apart because they don't know how to handle. They thought it's supposed to be easy. You see what I'm saying? But when you fail out the gate a couple times, stumble and bumble, hit the wall, you know what I'm saying, trip over your own feet, whatever, and it makes you better for the long haul. You know what I'm saying? And such is life. You know what I mean? We have to learn to embrace failure. Not that we make stupid decisions and just make don't make dumb decisions. You want to try to be wise and try to be smart as you can, but don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah, because you're going to survive and you're going to be stronger. You're going to be better. Yeah, you are.
You got one more for me? Come on, girl, you on a roll.
No, it's true. And when we were talking, like, one of the things, I think that people need to be more compassionate with themselves. And that's surprisingly, I feel for some, it's going to require a lot of strength. Compassion requires strength. Definitely. Compassion for yourself requires a lot of strength.
Definitely.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's just how human beings are. Human beings we are built resilient. We are resilient, and we're built to withstand these things mentally and physically. We have to allow ourselves to go through it, because ultimately that's just what's going to help us be better in the long run.
We're gonna wrap it up. I'm reminded of the movie Meet the Robinsons. Cornelius Brown, you know what I'm saying? He said, "Keep moving forward" was his motto.
Yeah.
That was their family motto. And he went through this little museum that he had, or this, of all these different prototypes that he was trying that failed before he was able to make the time machine that they used. You know what I'm saying? And and it was just like he failed multiple times, but then eventually he was able to create something that changed the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but it's through the failures that he learned the things that didn't work. And sometimes that's an even more important lesson than what does work, learning what doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, but eventually he was able to create technology that changed the world. And those that are listening, as we put a bow on this puppy, don't be afraid of the lessons that failure have to teach, because in those things and in that process, right, you will become the very best version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So the next time you stumble and fall, or things don't go your way, you know what I'm saying? Take a step back, breathe a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And understand, man, this is a good thing, because it's gonna make, it's gonna make me a champion. You know what I'm saying? That's it, man. That's the episode for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, listen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, you know what I'm saying, on YouTube. If you're following us on Instagram, going over to YouTube and subscribe, you know what I'm saying, get that information and get some likes on that joint. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and put a couple of comments and leave your thoughts.
Yeah, share your ideas.
Please. We actually do get comments. The other day we got a guy, he had some sarcastic remark to make. I appreciated it though, you know what I'm saying? Because you thought enough to actually comment, and that's all we want. We want to provoke thought.
Yeah.
And so hey, if you got some vitriol and hate to spew, man, bring that too. We take that too. We ain't tripping. Until next time, we signing out. We want to tell you, stay safe, stay blessed, and above all else, stay human. We out.